Amidst massive protests by farmers in Punjab, Haryana, and several other states, the parliament passed three agricultural reform bills in its recently concluded monsoon session. These newly passed farm bills are the Farmers' Produce Trade and Commerce Bill, the Farmers' Agreement of Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill, and the Essential Commodities Amendment Bill, which was passed in the Parliament's earlier session in June. This move by the government has broken its relationship with its long-term ally, the Shiromani Akali Dal. Opposing this decision, the former Union Minister Harsimran Kaur Badal tendered her resignation to protest the bills, alleging that these legislations were anti-farmer. Farmers and farm organizations in Punjab and Haryana are holding a rail roko agitation and have called for a Bharat Bandh. The Congress party has also organized a 2 month long nationwide protest against the government for passing these anti farmer and anti poor bills. Now let us understand what are these new reforms in the farming sector and why are the farmers protesting against these new bills. The first bill aims to create an ecosystem which allows farmers to trade their produce outside the Agricultural Produce Market Committee or the APMC mandis. The APMC is a system operating under the state government that is responsible for the regulation of agricultural trade practices. It allows barrier-free intra-state and interstate trade of farmers' produce outside state APMCs. Further, farmers will not be charged any cess or levy for sale of their produce. Farmers and opposition parties fear that it may eventually lead to the end of the minimum support price based procurement system, which is meant to safeguard the farmer to a minimum profit. Interestingly, an analysis conducted by India Today shows that only 6% of farmers are able to sell their produce at MSP. The farmers fear that the bill will further dilute price guarantee on crops despite repeated assurance by the government. The second legislation seeks to give farmers the right to enter into a contract with agribusiness firms, wholesalers, or large retailers for the sale of future farming produce at a pre-agreed price. This would transfer the risk of market unpredictability from farmers to sponsors. But the opposition parties believe that the law is framed to suit big corporates who seek to dominate the agricultural industry and will also put the farmers at an unfair position. In an interview given to The Hindu, Sudha Narayanan, an associate professor at Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research, says that the bills have a lack of regulation and regulatory oversight and are somewhat non-transparent. The amendment to the Essential Commodities Bill removes commodities like cereals, pulses, onions, and potatoes from the essential items list, essentially doing away with the stockholding limits except in extraordinary circumstances. There is fear that big companies will hoard commodities and dictate terms with farmers. The government has repeatedly tried to appease the farmers by giving clarification, going as far as calling the passing of the bill as a historic moment. They have also warned farmers to be careful of the misinformation spread at the behest of middlemen and the opposition parties. An article in the Indian Wire, taking a stance for the government decision, blames the APMC Mandi officials and the politically connected strong middlemen for fueling the protests and controlling the lives of farmers. The international media has also covered the issue of these bills and have had a few opinions of their own. Gulf News called these bills the most significant economic decision yet of this new century, one which will finally allow India to break free from the endemic cycle of poverty. According to an article, it is Modi's poor background that helped him realize the value of these reforms and then see them through. Also, the Citizen compared the new farm bills to the failure of the American farming system. They believe that the entry of private traders into the agricultural industry will eventually lead to the death of the APMC mandis and the collapse of the MSP. In a statement given to the BBC, Devendra Sharma, agriculture policy expert, believes that even though there are leakages in the current system that need to be reformed, but replacing one failed model with another is not the solution. In a country where agriculture employs so many millions of people, leaving farmers' fates to the vagaries of the market cannot be the only answer.